Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's spectacular episode, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that got me coffees. Starting with you, Kathy, 5 solid coffees, and your comment is too many more my wares from you, Tinto. Thank you for all the laughs. You are welcome. And then somebody who managed to keep themselves anonymous gave me 3 solid coffees. Thank you very much for your generous contribution. Kujiga with Rumbi, you are a real gem. You consistently support the podcast. Thank you so much. And your comment there is just topping up as it's been a while, especially to acknowledge the addition of my wear to your love. Thanks for the awesome content. You're welcome, Rumbi. And then our usual suspect, Tichitire Bogus, another contribution. Thank you so much, guys. Please help me find this Tichitire Bogus individual because they've been nothing short of amazing. If you'd like to support the podcast in a similar way, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, and always remember, there is nothing that is too small for you to support the podcast that you've grown to love. With that out of the way, let's head over into this weekend's episode. And boy, I don't think you're ready for this one.
Is that a breakup? I think we have a situation right here. On the Feeling Station.
Hi, Tinto.
Hey, what's happening?
All good. What's up?
Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you for having me.
How you feeling?
I'm okay now.
Good.
I was a little anxious earlier, but I'm okay.
Good.
Now,
I was hoping you would say that. For those who are listening to this podcast for the first time, it touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about, with a view to give you, the listener, lessons you can learn from my guest experience. One of the reasons why the podcast is doing great is because I do my best to keep my guest anonymous, which brings me to the fun part. The part that I give you the name that you're going to use for the duration of this episode. Are you ready for this one?
I am ready for my other name.
So, your name is from Nigeria, and it's in Igbo, and the name is Amarachi, which is AMA
Yeah.
RRACHI, Amarachi. Very easy to remember. And that means somebody who's been blessed with grace, mercy, and kindness.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. Now, do any of those attributes relate to you? Are you a gracious person? Are you a merciful person? Are you filled with kindness? In
I
general?
like to think I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now,
I think I'm
I'd have been surprised if you said you're not any of those. I'd have been very worried. Great.
Yeah,
So,
what kind of person is this?
so that's your name, Amarachi. And what name are you giving the guy that you're going to talk about today?
I'm gonna give him the name Thomas
Thomas. Okay, cool. So this is
from
a
the
story.
Bible.
Oh, yeah, doubting Thomas, yeah?
Yeah.
So does this mean that there's a lot of doubt involved in this episode?
Yeah.
Oh,
From my part. So.
oh dear. Okay, so the episode is about Thomas and Amarachi. Okay, and the second reason why the podcast is doing great is that there are real life lessons that people listening to this episode will learn. So, what would you like those who are listening to your story today to learn?
I'd say 1, don't underestimate the power of your instincts.
Ooh,
So
Mhm.
we always talk about red flags. We always talk about that gut feeling. So
Yeah.
that's 1.
So never
And 2,
underestimate the power of your instincts.
yeah.
Okay. And the second
Number
one?
2 is be true to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just be yourself.
Do you know, it's easy to be yourself if you know yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't know yourself, how are you true to yourself? It becomes a little difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you have to trust that you know yourself.
Cool. Have you got a third lesson?
My third lesson would be some breakups are a blessing in disguise.
Hey. I like that. Some breakups are blessings in disguise. Brilliant. Do you have more, or
Yeah.
those are the 3 that you'd like to focus
No,
on?
those are the 3. If any other pop out, it should just be through the story.
Okay, so let's get into the episode then. So, Amarachi, where did you meet Thomas, and why did you decide this is the guy that I want to be with?
So it's a very funny story actually.
Mhm.
Well, not funny, but there's a bit of a background to it.
Okay.
So I went for a sleepover at my friend's house,
Mhm.
and we're just talking about relationships. And so, we're not like that close where we usually talk about relationships and stuff. But for some reason that night we just started talking, and we're like, oh, we're both single. And she's like, are you looking for anyone at the moment? Are you seeing anyone? And I was like, nah, I think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And then an hour later, she's like, well, there's this other guy that I went to uni with.
Yeah.
We were in the same class. I don't really know him that well, but for some reason, I just think you guys would be like perfect for each other.
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, oh, let me see him. And then she shows me his picture on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so bad. I zoomed into his teeth and I was like, oh.
Who does that? Oh my God. Okay, so you zoomed into his teeth and?
He had a gap. So I thought he had a missing tooth, and I was like, I don't know. Does he have a missing tooth?
This is hilarious. So you potentially were not going to fall in love with someone because they had a missing tooth. Wow.
You guys. To be fair, it's just the nature of my job, okay?
So do you know what? Now I'm just wondering if you didn't have missing teeth, right? Were you going to be looking to see where they had missing hair on his head?
No.
And where they had a missing limb or something? You're looking for a complete man, yeah?
No. I just have something about teeth. I'm just saying.
Okay, fine.
It was just the first thing that I see in people generally. So that's their teeth.
Right.
Anyway, so I was just like, yeah, whatever. So I just ignored it. And I was like, nah. Does he? And she's like, no. She said the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about teeth, man. I think he's a nice guy. Actually, let me message him and ask him when he'll be coming to the area that we live in.
Yeah.
And then she messaged him and I was like, oh my God, don't even mention me or anything. Like, this is just a bit much.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward 2 weeks later. I'm getting to the part where we meet, right? 2 weeks later, I come to a different city for some course. And then I meet up with some friends from church. And they're just like, hey, how are you? We're catching up. And then they're like, are you seeing anyone? And I was like, what's with this question, man? This is like 2 weeks, 2 weeks apart. And I wanted to say yes, even though I wasn't. But then I was like, if I say yes, they're going to ask who is he, whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole series of questions after that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just said, nah, I'm not seeing anyone. And then they're like, oh, there's this guy. Mind you, these friends and the other friend, they don't know each other at all. And they're like, there's this guy and we are friends with him and we think that he'd be perfect for you. And then I was like, okay, this is a bit weird. I had a friend tell me about her other friend. Yeah. And then I was like, what's his name? And they tell me, oh, his name's Thomas. And I was like, hold on a minute. What does Thomas do? And then they tell me his job. And I was like, oh my God.
It's the same
this
guy.
Cannot be the same person. Yeah.
You're joking. Wow.
Legit.
It was the same guy.
It was the same guy. Like, I was
well, do you know what? Credit to your friends. They saw that you guys would probably make a great couple.
Yeah.
And they're unrelated friends, right?
They are really unrelated. They don't know each other or anything. They hadn't met or anything.
It's interesting that we're having a breakup story about this, because how can two groups of people that don't know each other think somebody would be great for you and then it doesn't work out?
Right? And I'm there like, God, this is a sign. I see it.
Yeah. I want to see how this is gonna end. Okay. so they say it's that guy. Yeah.
Because my friend, after I left her house, she stalked his Facebook and she had sent me his picture and she's like, here's a better picture of him. Maybe I showed you a wrong picture. So I go through my WhatsApp and I show them the picture and I was like, is it this guy? And they're like, oh, yes, it's him. And they're like, do you want to go and meet him right now? And I was like, no, come on, guys. I'm coming back next week. And they're like, we've been telling him about you. And I was like, okay.
Wow. So they've already been building and hyping your profile.
Right, yeah. And I was like, okay, I will meet him next week if he's keen. Yeah, why not? Because now at this point, I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing here. It's fine, I'll take it. So the following week, I come back and they had arranged but I was like, I don't want to just meet him by myself. I think let's just make it a casual thing. nothing too hectic. I wasn't really just gonna, try and go on a blind date. But after I had another course, so after that I went. We decided to meet at a cafe, and I was like, I'm gonna go early so that I don't have to, awkwardly walk in.
So that you're the one who's waiting and you see him coming in.
Yeah.
I've pulled those moves before. You just feel more comfortable, like saying, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
there you are. I
exactly.
can see you, and you don't know where I am." Yeah, okay. So how early did you go in here? Did you go in like a whole hour early or?
No, I was like 30 minutes early.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah. So, so anyway, he came in, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, hello." He was like really good looking guy.
Oh, now he's good looking, yeah. But this is before he smiles, isn't it? And he reveals those teeth that you're inspecting from a picture.
No, the picture got it wrong. He just had a gap, but his teeth were fine.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah. So then we just introduced each other. Hey, I'm Thomas. Hey, I am Amarachi. And that's how things started. So actually we got to talk. Like we clicked right away. And I was like, I could see why our friends would think that, we
would be great.
It was just like we had known each other for a long time. Yeah.
Right.
Like we talked about everything. And our friends were like an hour and a half late.
Wow.
And I was like, I have a feeling this was intentional.
Deliberate, of course. Just to give you guys time to connect.
Yeah. So by the time they came, we're actually like, we actually don't need you guys.
You guys can go.
You guys can go. Yeah, literally. Yeah. We're like, oh, should we move our table? We're just joking anyways. Yeah, so we just hang out and we all talked, and I was like, yeah. And then at the end of the night, he was just like, hey, can I add you on Instagram or something like that? What's your Instagram? And then I gave him my Instagram, and he's like, I'll contact you during the week. And I was like, cool. During the week, Mans is not saying anything. And I'm just there like, come on, I don't want to be the one messaging you.
Yeah, but was this like on a Monday or this was like on a Thursday already? Which day of the week?
I can't remember. Maybe like a Tuesday.
Relax, Amarachi, relax. The guy can't be too eager, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's what he said when we talked about it. And then he's like, nah, I just have to be cool. Cool about it.
So when did he contact you? Like the Thursday or something?
So like maybe a Thursday or something like that. And he's like, hey. And I was like, wow, took you a whole minute to say hello. And then we just started talking, and then he's or maybe I said, I don't really like being on Instagram all the time. So here's my number. Or maybe he asked for my number. I don't know. Because anyway. So we exchanged numbers, and then we started just talking. We lived in different cities, but it was like it's easy to get between the cities.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's how things started.
And then, how did you guys become boyfriend and girlfriend? At one point, did it become official?
Yeah, so now this is I'm not one of those people who's just like, let's see how it goes, and then it's just we are in a relationship. I like it to be like point blank, like we are in a relationship, right? So anyway, before that, he then organized and came to my city, and he's like, I would like to take you out on a date. When are you available? And I was like, oh, I'm available on this day. And he plans the date and everything, and he books like an Airbnb for the night. And I was like, oh, that weekend that he was free and I was free, turned out I wasn't free.
Oh.
I had to go for my friend's baby shower. So then I said to him, well, since you're here for the whole weekend, would you want to come to my friend's baby shower with me?
Yeah.
And he's like, cool, that's not a problem. So we had like a nice date. It was really lovely night, very gentlemanish, and we had a good conversation. And at the end of the night, I was driving him around, so I dropped him off at his Airbnb. Next day, he came over to our house actually, and we were just making cupcakes. My friend had asked me to make cupcakes for her, but I didn't know how to do the icing.
Oh, okay. Right.
And when it's like, hey, I've always wanted to be a chef. The career that I'm doing right now is just African parents who influenced me, so I can help. And we were just like so impressed. And my flatmate, she was like, "Ooh, he's definitely a winner. I like him. Like he's
So did he know how to make the icing, or he was learning how to do it with you at the same time?
no, he knew how to make it.
Ooh,
So
okay, nice,
yes, yeah.
nice.
So he made it. Yeah. So he made it, and we took the cupcakes and we drove. Now the only thing when we were driving, right? This is the part where I was just like, So then I say, "Hey, would you mind?" Because it was like a 2-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Hey, do you wanna drive? Because I don't really like driving, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "I don't have a license."
Oh,
So to me, I thought he left it. I was like, "Oh, why did you leave your license?" Mans really didn't have like a license.
like he was
And I was
unlicensed, but
like, he was unlicensed.
could he drive though?
I don't know. He says it could, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
at the time, and this only became apparent like later on, because even at the time, I didn't pick up that he meant he didn't have a license. Because I was like, okay, who is
So
telling
why
me
was
not a
that
license?
suspicious for you that someone doesn't have a license?
Well, I'll tell you later on, because at this time when he says he didn't have the license, I didn't think he doesn't like have it,
Okay.
as in he's not licensed to
Yeah,
drive.
yeah.
Right. So I just thought he left it in his city. So that's why I was like, oh, why didn't you bring it anyway?
Gotcha.
So I drove him. Yeah. So then he didn't say, oh, like, I mean, I don't have a license. So I just said, why didn't you bring it? And then we left. And then when we are at the baby shower, man, he's like a people's person. Everybody gets along with him, and all my friends are saying, wow, what a nice guy. And it's just so easy. And we meet the first friend who was like, hey, I'm Arachi. I've got a friend that I went to uni with that I would like to introduce you to. So she was there as well. So that wasn't too bad. So yeah, overall, it was nice. Like, it was very easy. Very like, everybody's like, oh, we love this guy. Wow, we're happy for you. Are you guys dating? And I'm like, we're just talking. I'm waiting. Anyway, he came back to his city, and then I came down to visit as well. At some point, we had another nice date that he had organized. Man, he like Mans was all out on dates.
It sounds like he really knows how to treat you right so far.
Right? So far, it's like, wow, it's like easy. It's like we are talking, and there's no tension or there's no awkwardness, and everything is going well. So our second date, we took a ferry to some vineyard, and at that point, everybody's like, this is a godly man. He loves God, and he teaches in church in the morning, and he's this. I'm just there, like, with my friend. I'm like, well, at some point, I'm just gonna have to tell him I'm not a perfect Christian,
Oh, right. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where you're aware of your shortcomings.
Yeah, exactly.
And you wanted those to be known to him, so that
Early
if ever
on.
you tripped up, you've already told him about this flaw, and it's up to him to decide whether he can deal with it or he can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he generally present himself as a very godly man in your space to you?
My Tinto, you have no idea. He presented himself as a perfect human, like, to the point where I think at some point I was just like, Amarachi girl, this is a great guy, and you were just. We went to the vineyard, but then I was like, interesting choice for a godly man to want to go to a vineyard, because they do like wine tastings and stuff. But anyway, didn't think much of it, and we went, and when we got there, we had like a nice lunch, and then I really wanted a wine, but I didn't order wine. I just ended up like a juice.
So is this the part that you're saying that you are a flawed Christian in quotes?
Yeah.
In the sense that I'm guessing the expectation within whatever you believe in was that you shouldn't have alcohol, or you should avoid alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
But you enjoyed an occasional drink here and there.
Yeah. So like, I'm not really big on clubbing and stuff, but I like wine. So yeah. So that was the.
I get it. So now you're thinking, why is this godly man taking me to a vineyard? Because he's not supposed to be having alcohol either.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because everybody was telling me, he teaches like the classes and at church and stuff, and he's so perfect. I was just like, oh, but I knew I had to have that conversation because I told my friend, I was like, I don't want to lie about who I am. It's just
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So I just want him to know. But anyway, we ordered and I went for like a mocktail and he did the same. But then we started talking, right? And we're talking and talking. He goes, I did Toastmasters in high school. And I was like, wait a minute.
I like how my man is starting to drop hints that, yo, I drink too,
Yeah, exactly.
These sneaky people. Church people should just be open from the get-go, because fundamentally at the bottom of everything, we are all human.
Exactly.
And you'd be surprised how just being honest about those sort of things would open up a whole new world for you guys.
Yeah. So then I'm like, wait hold a minute, man. I've been feeling like this and you've done Toastmasters since you were 18. What are you talking about? I've only learned how to drink these wines 4 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we started talking and, he was telling me, because then we opened up and he was telling me there's just too much pressure, for me. I feel like I always have to be a perfect person. And please note this, what I'm saying, right? There's too much pressure. He feels like he has to be this perfect person, right? And so that's why one of my lessons is be true to who you are.
Okay.
Because now you kind of conform to the expectations of people around you and you end up being somebody that you're completely not, or you end up hiding who you are. You'll get to know this as the story develops as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, the date is nice. Then he took a boomerang. He's like, hey, can you look that way? I want to take a boomerang. He took a boomerang and posted it on his Instagram. Meanwhile, this man still hasn't asked me out. I'm just there like, okay, you're going to post me on Instagram. But my face wasn't showing, but I was like, okay, you're going to post me on Instagram. And I'm really just one of those people who, I think I did a lot of social media dating when I was younger. Now I'm just like, nah, I don't want to,
Yeah.
post.
Because you've learned, that sometimes it's better not to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, at the time, it was like, it was okay. It doesn't matter. And obviously, our friends are like, oh, he posted you, yada, 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 yada. And then we go back. Now, this is one of the, one of the things that I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this because we took the ferry back. And then this man is like, I'll send you my bank account details so that you pay me.
You didn't just say that. Did those words really come out of his mouth to say, I'm going to send you my bank details so that you pay me for the date?
Legit.
And what are you paying? Half, a quarter, a third, in full?
Like half.
What a dude.
And this way I'm just there like, okay, I had to hire the car that, a rental that we were using to drive around. And I was just so confused.
So now you had the perfect opportunity to say, well, you're going to pay me half for the rental too. Do you know what I mean? If that's the game that he wants to play, then you also bring your cards to the table and say you pay me half for the car rental.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was, I don't know. Maybe it's the way he worded it was very, very like, oh, there's nothing wrong with what he said, but there was something wrong with what he said.
There was everything wrong with what he said.
Yeah, because I was like,
and it's not to say that it's not okay to go halves with someone.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the manner in which you present it. If you had known from day one that this is going to be a halves thing, you'd have been better prepared for it instead of it being dropped like a bomb out of nowhere.
Yeah. And even for me, like I like planning dates where I'm just like, okay, this is my turn to plan a date and I'll take care of everything, So for him to say half, that was like my first ever encounter of half. In all my previous relationships, either I plan the dates and we go and we do what you like or whatever, or you plan the date and we go. But anyway, it was just, I had a conversation with my friend about it. And the country that we live in, that's quite common for people to go 50-50. But I was just like, I don't know, it just didn't feel right with me. But then my friend said, "You're starting to do this." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "You're finding faults, you know?" Yeah, exactly. And they're like, "You're finding faults and you're too hard on people and this and this and this and this." And so now I don't want to be the asshole who, messes up this amazing thing. And they're like, "This is a great guy. Just give him a chance," or whatever. And I'm just there like, okay, and then I had a conversation with another mutual friend, and we're just like, and so he's like, "How's it going? You guys are official now, you're dating." He's been talking about you a lot, saying his girlfriend. And I'm like, "Girlfriend?" I think he was there actually. It's like, "Girlfriend? He hasn't even asked me out. What do you mean girlfriend?" And then no, he wasn't there. And then because the friend said, "What do you want? Do you want the guy to propose to you?"
Oh my
They
gosh.
are the ones who say they are the ones who say we started talking, and then things just kind of flew, went with the flow. And I was like, "Nah, I like to know. I like to know like what exactly is going on." Because as far as we don't specify, "Hey, would you be my girlfriend?" or whatever, for me it's not a relationship. It's we are seeing each other, but I can't claim you.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we went to he really loves his coffee, so we went to a cafe, and then he's like sat me down and he had a proper chat. I don't know, I think my friend had, like our mutual friend, had given him a heads up to say, "Dude, those girls, like, you need to be clear about what you want." Did this guy not sit me down and say, "These are my intentions"? It was perfect. It was perfect. It was like, "I'm seeing you, and when I'm seeing you, I'm too grown for this. I don't want you seeing anybody else. I don't have time to be fighting you about who you're seeing." Like literally, like for me, it's between A and B, meaning me and you. There's no C's involved, and I don't do any of that drama. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, well, can forget about the freaking date that you made me pay for.
Okay. Sounds like a charmer, this guy.
He is for everyone. And he had told some people, like, in the church, he's like, when I find, because he had been single for like a while, like 2 years or more, actually more than that. I think he just kind of downplayed it. And he had said, "I'm not in a rush. When I see her, I'll come to you and say, behold." So when people met me, Tinto, they said, "Behold."
Oh, right. Okay. Behold the lady that I've chosen.
Exactly. And I was like, wow, what is this? This is nice. Anyway, we went away. Wow, this is a long story. We went away for his birthday. His birthday was coming up. And so he had planned like a trip to a different city, and we were all like his friends. Because initially I was never in the plan. I was never in the picture when they planned. They were gonna book an Airbnb and stay in an Airbnb in that area. It's a very lovely place. So then one of my friends is like, "Oh, Amarachi, are you gonna come with us?" When he was there. And I was like, "No, I haven't been invited. I can't just invite myself." And she's like, "No, this is your person now, so you can come." And I was like, "No, he has to, invite me." And then he said, "Oh, you're too forward," to our friend. He's like, "You're too forward. I was gonna ask you if she wanted to come."
Oh, right.
But
Okay.
yeah. And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm happy to chip in for the Airbnb as well." Because now I know how we work.
Of
Like,
course.
I'm not gonna be embarrassed like that.
Bring the money.
Yeah. But then you know what I didn't like? I still went on and did a car rental that we were all using, So anyway, it's fine. Because when we had talked, he had a master's degree, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say his career.
Yeah.
Can I say he had a master's degree in law, right? But he was working an odd job where he wasn't practicing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I sat down with him one time and I was like, I have a few concerns because one, it looks like the people you hang around with are like 20-year-olds. I'm 30. I don't want to be hanging out with 20-year-olds. That's like, my sister's 23. It feels a bit weird for me to always be hanging out with them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the way what I said was the way they look at you, they aspire to have what you have, which is the qualification that you have, so when they see you, they see success. But if you try to, widen your circle a little bit and hang out with people around your age group who I do networking. I'm all about networking with people, and maybe you'll get a job. Maybe you're not getting a job because you're not putting yourself out there and whatever. There I am trying to be Bob the Builder. My sister calls me Bob the Builder. That story. So yeah, but I was just like, for me, if this is a partner, you need to have these conversations about where do you see your career going? Why are you not getting a job? If you've passed and you're intelligent, and he's a smart guy. So then he's like, I'll work on my CV. He started applying, and he told his friends, he's like, man, this girl, oh, she's so smart. Oh, she's so this. But for me, it's like, ish, man, when I'm with my friends, I don't want to be a little bit embarrassed by, what does he do? Oh, he still doesn't have a job. But it's not because jobs are not there. You're just not being in the not networking enough. Then he got a job, and this is where shit started. I'm sorry. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is when things started going bad, because now.
So he got a job in law. Okay. After your suggestions.
After we had that, yeah. So then he gets a job, and actually before that, for his birthday, I went all out. I was like, this guy likes, he likes his coffee, so I did the subscription thing so he can get coffee every month, like for 3 months. It was like like a nice subscription thing, and I also like took him to this fancy ass dates, and it was nice. We just sat, we talked, and it was cool, and surprised him with a cake. So and then planned with the friends back in the Airbnb. We were going to do another surprise. So it was great. Now, fast forward, Mez gets a job. I'm expecting to be treated a little bit better. So maybe that half situation was because he was broke. And he didn't know how.
And did the half situation continue?
Did it? I think for me, it's like I don't like feeling uncomfortable. So if you show me that I operate in this way, I'll try my best to not put myself in that situation.
Okay.
If you're planning a date, then I'll want to pay for myself before you even say, let's go half again. So when we went out for lunch, I'd say, oh, let me offer to pay. I'll just offer to pay.
And would accept
pay
it.
for the both of us. Yeah, he would.
So basically, he continued the half situation. Except that because if he wasn't continuing it, he'd have stopped you and say, hey, no, don't worry, I've got this.
Yeah, exactly.
So he never did that.
Nah.
He's a stingy man.
Yeah, gosh, honestly, it gets worse.
Okay.
So, where are we? We're back from the. Actually, before we get to the holiday, I forgot something important. Notice how I haven't said we've kissed.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Come on, Tinto.
But I was wondering about that. But then I just put it down to the fact that you guys were both quite religious, so this wasn't an important piece of your stuff because you're preserving yourself anyway.
No, maybe that's that's the part where I say I don't think that I'm like I go to church, but I don't see myself as a perfect Christian. I fall short in so many ways. So intimacy to me in a relationship is important, right?
Yeah.
So after we made it official, I was just like, why isn't this guy like trying to kiss or anything? Like even when I hug him, he would just kind of pull away quite quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I said to one of our friends, I was like, are you sure this guy is attracted to me? Because this is a bit weird. And he's like, come on, like, are you sure he isn't gay? And he's like, you're full of jokes. Come on. He's just taking his time because he likes to take things slow, whatever. But anyway, the kiss happened later on. Right. And I was like,
and was it worth the wait?
Nah, it was average. It was average. It was okay. I was willing to work with it because remember, this is a perfect guy, and I'm not trying to push anybody away, right? And there was a lot of that in the relationship where if maybe I have a concern, even for me internally, I'd have to say, but don't be. No, Amarachi, sorry about that.
That's cool.
But Amarachi, don't be too hard. Don't be too. I like things that make sense. If it did make sense, then I had to have that internal battle of
don't be too rigid.
You don't want to be you don't want to be that person because people say your relationships, you don't give people a chance. So I really wanted this one. I wanted to work out. Okay. I wanted to show that I'm not that difficult. And so after his birthday, then my birthday was coming up. And it was my 30th, so I went away out of the country with some friends, and then I planned like a big celebration for when I got back. And I have expectations, right? I've got a boyfriend. When we're away on holiday, he wasn't calling. He wasn't calling at all. And so it was embarrassing for me because my friends, their partners would call, and then I'm just there like, I'd call him, but he would never call me. And then I had a conversation with him to say, hey, what's up? Like, you're not even communicating. What's going on? And he's like, oh, I just didn't want to disturb you and your friends.
What? Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On your birthday, yeah?
And then my actual birthday is when I flipped because this man did not even say happy birthday. He did not even text me. It's like 10 p.m. And I messaged him and I said, wow, even on my birthday, like you want me to ask you for a phone call?
That's crazy.
What is this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's not right.
I was just so heartbroken, man. I was just like, why? And he had this thing of, he would come up with a sad story. Like he would say, my family member, they're in hospital. That's why I forgot. Right. But he had a blog. So then I discovered like a few days later that he was actually blogging. How do you have time to blog? But then you say you forgot because your auntie was in hospital. That doesn't make any sense.
No, that doesn't add up.
Yeah. So then I said to him, I think we just have to have a conversation when I get back home, because this for me is unacceptable, and birthdays are very important to me. And for his birthday, I made sure he felt special. So we had the party, and I was just like, I'm not gonna ruin the party by having that conversation. We'll talk about it later on. For me, it's like we're adults. We'll talk about things, and
in an adult manner,
Yeah,
and at the right time as well.
At the right time, yeah, exactly. So when I got back, he sends me flowers, which now are my absolute least favorite flowers in the whole wide world, because he sent me these cheap ass flowers and a bottle of wine. Cheap wine. That's all I got for my birthday.
Wow.
That's it. And and you know what he said? He's like, oh, because I know you like going all out, and for my birthday you went all out. I thought I should get you something.
So that was his version of going all out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he did it because I did something.
So he did it. So it's not out of the goodness of his heart and wanting to really treat his woman, but it was like, I'm gonna match what you did for me, which he didn't even do, to be honest.
Exactly. And this is like 6 months into the relationship. So I didn't feel good about that because your friends are like, oh, what did he get you? My friends, they got me stuff, but I was just like, he surprised me with some flowers and
one of those where you try and make it sound rosier than it actually is.
Yeah, exactly. Because even with the date where he said, let's split the bill, I didn't say, right? Because it's like, oh, it's a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
So then, and also I don't want to look like, oh, she's so superficial. She wants this. Because I can hold my own, like I'm very independent in my ways, but it was just a matter of, come on, dude, like, really, Anyway, so we had a conversation after the party, and I was like, hey, I really didn't like, this kind of treatment for me. I expected you as my partner to give me a call. I'm away. You're not even checking in to see how I'm doing. What was that about? What was going on? Let's talk. And it's not in a I don't like shouting. Nah, I don't do that. I like sitting down. So I sat him down in private because after some friends left and stuff, the next day, that's when I said in the evening before he left, I was like, hey, can we talk? So we just went and had some privacy and we talked. And I kid you not, he was shaking.
Oh.
And I was like scared now. I was like, did I scare him? Did I do something wrong? Did I mess it up? What's going on? I thought we was just gonna have a conversation, and now this is like, I don't understand. And then he's like, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. I just don't have experience with with relationships, so I've only had like one serious relationship, and then now it's very important to ask questions, early on in relationships, because now he's like, oh, my longest relationship was 8 months, and it was like in high school or something.
Hey, yeah. Okay, was he being truthful or he was just making excuses?
I think he was being truthful.
Why aren't you sure whether he was being truthful or not?
Because I can't confirm that. I don't know. And since he came into this country that we live in, he hadn't dated anyone, and he had been here for like 3 years or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah. So anyway, fast forward the next month, he invites me to go to a wedding, his friend's wedding, where he was emceeing. And then I come to the city where he lives. I was like, I have time off work. This is my only time to have this long because it was like Christmas. So I took time off. Usually I go back home to visit my family. So the 1 year I was like, come on, you can do it, Amarachi. You don't have to go home this year. Just stay and get to know this person. So I was like, I'll take time off. I communicated that with him and I booked an Airbnb. Not once did I see him. Not once. And the only time he would want to meet was when there were other people around, like in a group setting.
What is happening with this man?
Right?
Yeah.
From all that rosy perfection, I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on, and I am miserable. And also now, remember, because the birthday thing, when I tried to talk to him, he was shaking and he was scared. Yeah. Now I don't even know how do I communicate this with him.
Because you're worried you're going to creep him out again.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm just miserable. I'm just like, I could have gone to see my family, and I just don't understand this. And he, at that time, what he would do is introduce me to everyone. This is my girlfriend, and this is my yeah. But his actions towards me were just
completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, actions always speak louder than words.
Exactly. And so I had a conversation with my friend about it, and I was like, something doesn't feel right. I don't know what to say, but it just doesn't feel right. And I'm giving this my all, but it's just, and she's like, no, there you go, that you're being difficult. And that's a different person telling you that, this person, if their intentions, they've told you their intentions and they're always right about their intentions. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. He's a perfect guy. Now I go, there was somebody who said in a podcast before, don't date a man from Zimbabwe whose name starts with a T. I wish I could have listened to that.
I heard that and I got hurt by that, because not only am I Zimbabwean, but my name also starts with a T. I was like, yo, what's that about? And don't tell me you're about to say the same thing.
I wish I could have heard that podcast before.
Lord have mercy.
Because they'll do you wrong. There I was, now, right? We're going to this wedding, and that day we went to church. The wedding was the next day, was on a Sunday. So we went to church and he introduced me, and I go to him, hey, maybe don't introduce me to the elders in the church, until we're sure of what this is. Because mind you, now I'm having that internal, this is wrong, something is off, something is off. Want this man introducing you to everyone. But then he goes and he introduces me to, old people. And for me, it's like a respect thing, back home.
Yeah.
It's like be respectful to the elders. You don't want to be introducing every girl that you date or every guy that you date.
You really want to introduce the one that's going to be the one.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's just like, this is my girlfriend. I was like, wow, you're even introducing me as your girlfriend. Like, oh, this is weird. And he's like, they're not my parents. If they were my parents, like, obviously I would introduce in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I was like, for me, it's like, okay.
This guy lacked vision and foresight, didn't he?
Yeah. And I was just like, but give them the same respect.
Yeah.
Now, there I am being called Murora left, right, and center. And we go to this wedding. And same thing happens. He doesn't give me any attention whatsoever at the wedding. With people that I don't know at a wedding where I'm just there, there's obviously some people, maybe one or two people from my city who I didn't know that well, but I was forced now to interact with them because because I feel awkward. And they're just there like, where's he? We saw him talking to so. And you look at everybody else, they're with their partners, they're making sure they're comfortable, they're making sure they've eaten. And so I feel like close to tears. So I go call my friend and I'm like trying to get busy before everybody goes inside. And so I tell him, man, I wish I wouldn't have come here. I regret coming here. I feel out of place and I just don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just, making conversation for the sake of pretending like I'm on a call or something so that I keep busy until everybody sits down and the proceedings start.
Oh, that's terrible.
And then they start and, I just was like, oh, I left like late and went back to my Airbnb. I couldn't even find the keys for the freaking Airbnb. It was just horrible. In the middle of the night, scared, like, it was horrible. It was horrible. And then I went back home. And the day that I left, we were at his flat with some friends too. Like, not once did we have a single one-on-one date or anything. And I was just feeling uncomfortable. And I even left and went for a walk because I was just like, what is this? What am I doing? I'm not usually like this, So, why am I accepting this treatment? So it was just like I know I want this to work. I know I don't want to be the difficult person, but I would never usually accept this treatment. It just feels wrong. But, what am I going to tell people that he didn't give me attention at a wedding or, so anyway, I left. And when I left, in my heart was like, nah, this can't be it. Something has changed and I don't know what it is. I have a conversation with a friend. I'm like, nah, I think I'm just gonna take a step back. Let me see if I don't make an effort to communicate with him, is he gonna communicate or not?
Yeah.
Then he doesn't communicate that well. And if I call, and then I heard he told people that I call too much and I got offended. I was like, what the heck? Anyway, then he's like, oh, and then I was like, well, I made the last trip. I'm not going to come there. So you have to make the trip to visit, like if you want to see me. And he's like, oh, I'm going to plan this amazing date. I was going to surprise you for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, whatever.
Actually, he said end of month. And I was like, oh, why would you want to come end of month? But anyway, I'll take it back. Why not Valentine's? And then he's like,
he was going to come for Valentine's, but on the 28th of Feb, yeah?
Right? And then he's like, nah, I'll come the next. And then he's like, I'll come. And then he calls and he's like, he texted, something came up at work, so I can't come on the 31st. I'll come. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, he had said he would make the Valentine's trip. And then on the 3rd of February, he calls me and he's like, hey, we need to talk. Actually, the day before, I was journaling and I wrote, God, this relationship just feels off. And I don't think I have the strength to get out of it because I don't want to be the one messing up.
Yeah.
If it's not right for me, just help me get out of it.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, the next day, he broke up with me.
And what was his reason?
He called me and he's like, hey, it was like a minute call. I just realized that, I have issues that I'm dealing with and I'm not ready for a relationship. So, yeah, this is it for me. Like, we can't be in a relationship anymore, something like that, something along those lines. And then I told my friend, I was like, there it is. there it is. This thing where I've just been feeling like something is off, something is just, not
It's not right,
right.
yeah.
But the blessing in that is after that breakup, I was so disappointed and so hurt that I decided to go back home because I hadn't taken the trip in December.
Of course.
So I went in February to see my family, to feel better. I was just a mess. Like I was crying, I was heartbroken. And then when I came back, that's when lockdowns happened.
Oh, right.
So it was just like, divine intervention. But then later on, a few months later, his friend says, did you ever suspect this guy is gay when you were dating him? Yeah. And I go, I've actually asked somebody this, if he was attracted to me.
Yes.
And actually on his birthday, when we went away and we were sleeping in separate rooms, I was like, at least cuddles. And he's like, you can come for a cuddle. When I went for a cuddle, he put pillows in between us.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was like, why do you think that? And he's like, well, I saw him at a club and what he was doing just was so suspicious and people are talking. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So he was attracted to men.
Yeah. Well, allegedly, because I can't confirm that, but it sounds like, yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So maybe when he said he was struggling with something and he was fighting with something, maybe that's what he's fighting with, and he just needs to be.
Funny enough,
honest with
you
himself.
had the perfect opportunity to ask what it was because you guys would have been on that level to talk like that. What stopped you from digging deeper?
No, because he was breaking up with me, so that's when he was telling me.
Yeah,
so
I know,
why am
but
I gonna ask?
because at least you can close the chapter knowing that okay, it was because of A, B, C, D, E. I know closure is not important to everyone, but I'd have wanted to know because now you have this suspicion at the back of your mind, which is unconfirmed. Even though you had a suspicion, and the behavior hints towards that being the truth, it's still a suspicion.
Yeah. For me, it was just like, it's done. I don't have to keep feeling like, why am I not being treated right? So when he said, I'm not ready for a relationship, there's things that I struggle with, that was what I needed. And that was just like that's it.
Mad thing.
Yeah.
I did not expect that ending. That is a bit of a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. And before his friend could even say, did you suspect? And I was like, and I was like, what? Because I knew what he was going to say next. I knew what he was going to say next. And I waited and I waited. And this is not one of our mutual friends. It was just his friend.
And obviously this friend was really doing this to protect you because he probably knew that, okay, you need to know. He
had tried before
give you a heads up.
He had to give me a heads up. And then I got angry. I was like, your friend can't just call me and say, if you were my sister, I would look at other fish in the sea. You must have told him something. What's going on? So yeah.
Mad. I've known some people who've heard this kind of news. They found out that their partner was homosexual, and it shattered them for life. How did this impact you that heavily, or because you had your own suspicions already and you were kind of disconnected because you felt something wasn't right? It wasn't as bad.
No, for me, it wasn't bad. Actually, I felt sorry for him because I was just like, now that explains why he is trying so hard. He's trying so hard, but you can only try so hard for so long. If at all he is, because allegedly, if at all he is gay, he needs to live his truth. It must be torture, going on these dates or being expected. And that would explain why maybe he's taken all these years without dating anyone.
That makes a lot of sense.
For me,
maybe he was dating someone. He just wasn't a woman that you guys knew.
Yeah.
It's a guy that he had on the low.
Yeah, so he needs to be true to himself. For me, it was more of a, I feel sorry for you. But obviously now I also feel, because now I moved cities, so we go to the same church, so I see him more often than not. So sometimes I just get annoyed by, stop with this act, But
this is why the conversation might have been a good conversation, because you wouldn't be having this fight within yourself to say, stop this act.
No, for the act is him pretending like he was heartbroken, because there were some people who even thought I was the one who broke up with him, because he had said, and they're like, "Oh, we heard you don't want to be our Murora anymore," and I'm just there like, ha, 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 just laughing it off. But really, it's like, don't do that. Don't make me look like the bad guy when I had done But anyway,
you're obviously a good person, in that you don't go airing out somebody's dirty laundry, and even your own laundry relationship wise, you've decided to keep that to yourself. That's both a blessing and a curse, because it just allows the other person to spread whatever they want, knowing that you're not ever going to say anything contrary.
Yeah, and a lot was said, but I'm of the firm belief that people will really end up knowing who you are anyway.
Yeah. No, that's
because
that is true. That has happened to me before, twice. That the reasons why a breakup happened were mentioned by the exes in all sorts of versions, and I generally don't say anything. My standard response is it didn't work out, and I leave it there.
Yeah.
But eventually, over time, the real story started coming out, and people politely, funny enough, were like, "Oh, we're sorry. We accused of A, B, C, D. We've heard the true side of the story." And because I still didn't smear that person's name, it becomes clear that it really was a smear campaign by the other individual, and this is what happened. So,
So there's actually a lady who came to me and said, "Oh, sis, he never deserved you," because in everybody's eyes, he's like the perfect Christian. They saw him clubbing and drunk and rowdy, and he doesn't even know this. But I was just like, "Are you sure it was him?" I never said, "Of course he drinks. Of course he."
Yeah. You see,
it's just like, "Are you sure?" I was like, But anyway,
that
that's the story.
But whatever happens in the dark always comes out to the light.
Truly.
That's a saying that remains true for a lot of things.
Truly.
Hey.
But be true to who you are. You don't go listening to people saying, "Oh, you're too hard, you're this, you're this, you're that." Nah,
you remain true to yourself, and then something else ended up being the problem.
Yeah.
Hey, Amarachi, thank you so much for your story. And that bomb at the end, I really didn't see coming at all. But your 3 lessons remain very relevant. And those listening to this episode, a quick recap for you. First up, don't underestimate the power of your instincts. And from the story that Amarachi has just told, it was very clear her instincts were telling her something wasn't right. And the things that she thought were not right ended up being the real deal. Second up, be true to who you are, just be yourself. She was true to herself as an individual, and Kanda, leaves an encouraging word for Thomas to say, hey, bro, you need to be true to who you are, because this whole facade you're doing is not only doing you harm, but it's also doing harm to those people who really think you are what you're not. And then last but not least, some breakups are blessings in disguise, and now, Amarachi, you have the perfect opportunity to meet somebody who genuinely cares for you and who hopefully doesn't make you pay for dates just as you're about to go back home. Okay.
That's the one.
Fingers crossed that ain't happening again anytime soon.
None of that.
You've all been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in next weekend's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis on Daru Raini and Chagizai.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Satis on Daru Raini and Chagizai.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru no to kujiziro amai.
Kujiziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru no to kujiziro amai.